Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Todoist Office Hours. Jono's here with us from Zapier. Thanks for joining us.
Of course. Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Awesome. We're gonna wait just another minute or so while I see people are joining here in the different platforms here in Crowdcast and others. I'm gonna get the Periscope going for anybody that's watching us on Twitter. There we go. And you know it's happening when it's coming back through. There we go. All right. I think we're good. It looks like the people rolling in are slowing down a little bit. So I think we can get started. Jono, welcome to your first Todoist Office Hours.
Hey, thank you for having me on. My name is Jono. I'm a partner manager at Zapier, based out of Oakland, California. And yeah, I'm really excited to be on Office Hours today. As you'll see later, we're going to get into a little bit of a demo, and I'm excited about Todoist because it's actually something I use personally, and I know how powerful it can be.
Very cool. Yeah, it's really pretty fun for us to bring in our partners from the other tech companies, not just the ones that we work with, but the ones that we sort of model some of the way we work off of. And like Zapier for us is like a company that we sort of look up to in a lot of ways. We see as a partner strategically in how we operate together, we do business together. But then also, like, you guys are a fully remote team and expanding like crazy and adding new apps and doing lots of cool things. So it's really fun to build on that synergy that we have with a collaboration here. So it's going to be a fun Todoist Office Hours, I think.
Definitely, I totally agree.
So I guess let's dive right into it. And for those that don't know who Zapier is, could you give like a little bit of a background on the company and sort of what you guys do and how you're distributed and all that? I think it's all really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So to start out with, we are the global leader in easy automation for small business. So what our platform does is we have the largest network of SaaS partners in the industry, and we are able to connect all of your apps together to allow you to to automate all the manual tasks out of your day. So things like automating project management, and personal productivity, which we'll show you today, or other things that are more, in the marketing realm, like lead management, or tons of other tasks, is just as easy as turning on the Zap. And we'll actually show you that later today. But a little bit more about the company. We were founded in 2011, as Chase mentioned. We are a fully remote company, so we don't even have any offices. But one thing that's really cool is that we're over 400 employees at this point. We're spread across more than 30 countries, and then also 35 U.S. states. So it's a truly remote company, which is really cool. Yeah,
That's amazing. So where are you located?
So I'm in Oakland, California, right across the bay from San Francisco.
Nice. All right. So yeah, we're spanning some time zones here. I'm in Spain, and you're in California, and we've got people checking in from multiple other time zones here. I can see on a couple different platforms. So we are doing our best to carry the torch for the remote first companies, I guess.
There we go.
Yeah, I think even actually it's kind of a cool little tidbit of info. Like, your CEO and our CEO are good buddies and like trade, they swap ideas off each other. I mean, I've often seen Amir, our CEO, kind of say like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to talk with Wade later and see what they do over there." And so I think it's cool that there's this like kind of like synergy between leaders in the tech space, but also in the remote workspace, and kind of figuring out how to make all this work.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. And it's interesting. Now during COVID, there's a lot of companies that are thinking about doing it fully remote. But I think really up until about a year ago, I think a lot of companies thought that it would make you less productive, thought that you'd lose a lot, and I think companies like Doist and And like Zapier, I've kind of been the trailblazers that showed that not only can you be just as productive, but it can actually have a lot of advantages as well. So yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree. And it's been fun to kind of help. I think a lot of people are bouncing ideas, companies that are switching from a more traditional setting in an office to a more remote work setting, or are seeking out advice from companies like Zapier and like us, checking our blogs and looking for feedback on how to make remote work. So you guys have certainly done that. You mentioned you said you're 400 employees now. Is that right?
I think even more than that, actually. Wow. Yeah, we during COVID, one of the offshoots of that is people are trying to get a lot more efficient, and so there's actually been a lot of demand during COVID, so we've been able to grow quite a bit recently.
Wow. That's crazy. Well, another little bit of something else we have in common is that we're both, I think our products at their core are both designed to genuinely make people's lives better. They're not energy sucking products. They're not ones that are designed to make you neither of us, I'm sure, really focus a lot on user metrics that are tied to like getting people addicted to the tool. It's more genuinely about getting people's lives to a higher productivity. Maybe even that means less time inside the tool. And I think we've sort of built a platform around that that resonates with our user bases.
Totally. I mean, you're spot on. I think if you are using Zapier correctly, and if you're using Todoist correctly, it's not only about spending less time in, our actual products. Like Zapier, you'll see what the product of Zapier looks like, but it's not that exciting. It's really kind of what it allows you to do.
Yeah.
But it also, if you use those correctly, you're going to be spending a lot less time, looking at your screen and doing manual tasks and being inefficient. So yeah, I totally agree. And not only it's designed to help you improve life, but I think both of our products too, we kind of want to let our products speak for themselves. So both of us have, really strong free plans, products that are designed so that you don't have to read the instructions before. You can just kind of hop right into the product, and it's self-explanatory in that way. And so, yeah, I guess you hear product-led growth a lot these days, but I would say both of our products kind of exemplify that. We want to let the product speak for itself. And if you get value from it, that's great. If not, try something else. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a strong free plan there to support anybody that wants to give it a shot and like truly give it a shot, not for 2 hours and then your trial period's up, but you can genuinely get into Zapier and really give it a shot and power up your productivity or whatever it may be. Connecting tools is like something that I think a lot of people have some hesitancy about at first because it sounds complicated. I mean, when you talk about building native integrations and connecting one tool with another, you're sharing information, like how does this work? And it's insane to me how easy you guys have made it to for the layman to be able to do this and just like in seconds connect 2 or 3 of your favorite tools together and build a little system for yourself that can really be automated.
Yeah, certainly. And that's what we were going for. I think, before Zapier and before in order to do those types of integrations, if companies didn't have native integrations, you'd actually have to write code. And so what Zapier is trying to do, or what Zapier has done, is made a tool that you don't have to write any code. Anyone can do it, whether you're technical, non-technical, and really just trying to reduce all of the kind of boring tasks that you don't want to do in your day-to-day workflow.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to get into, for those of you wondering, we're about to dive into, we'll stop the love fest between Zapier and Doist. I could keep going for a little while because I'm a big fan of the company, but we'll go more into the actual Zaps and building these in a minute and actually show you how to do this. Before we do that, I just want to send a quick reminder that if you're watching this, wherever you're watching this from, you can send in questions to us. so that we can get to those. We'll have about 10 or 15 minutes of Q&A towards the end after we do the demo. So feel free to send those questions in. If you're watching on Crowdcast, there's a ask a question function at the bottom of your screen. You can drop them there. You could also try to drop them in the chat. We've got some other questions that could come in from that have come in from Twitter and other sources leading up to this. But if you're watching live through Crowdcast, you can drop those in the ask a question function, and we'll do our best to get to all of them. Though often we're not able to get to all of them. So yeah, let's I guess move on from there and maybe go into the demo now.
Cool. Let me share my screen. There we go. Well, I guess before I share my screen, I'll give you a little context, what I'm going to show you today. So I thought it would be useful to give a quick example of how Todoist plus Zapier helped me stay organized and efficient when I started Zapier. So hopefully it doesn't seem this way, but I'm actually pretty new at Zapier. I started just about 4 months ago. And I think one of the first things that I noticed when I joined is that, at least compared to my last company or compared to myself at my last company, everyone was super organized at Zapier. And I don't know if it's like the remote culture, but everyone, had, the way I put it is everyone was super diligent. Like everyone was so well prioritized. There was no last minute asks or anything like that. And I realized really quickly that my organization system from what I used to use was no longer going to cut it. And so I'll show you what I mean. And let me share my screen. So at my last company, can you see my screen, Chase?
Yes, I do.
Okay, awesome. So at my last company, what I would do is, when I got an important email, what I would do is I would star it, and then I would go over to my starred folder and kind of periodically through the day, take a look, see what's important, and then respond to it. As soon as I respond to it, I would unstar it. Additionally, and kind of very similarly, in Slack, when I would have an important ping, I would save it, and then I would kind of come through here, scroll through, respond to these Slacks, and then unsave it. I would also, as a partner manager, I have partner meetings and team meetings that I need to prepare agendas for. And so I would periodically look at my calendar, see what meetings I had for the next day and prepare those agendas. Last but not least, for anything that didn't fit into those things, I would actually have a written to-do list. And so, anything like career development and just important stuff that I know that I need to do, I would write it down on the to-do list. So at Zapier, I realized this worked at my last company. I was pretty quick. I was very comfortable. And so if something slipped through the cracks, I could quickly get it done right before a meeting or something like that. Starting at this new company where I really didn't know how everything was done and everything just took a little bit longer, I realized very quickly that I needed a source of truth for what I needed to do in a day. And I needed that to be updated from all of my different sources. So what I started out with, or I asked around and heard very quickly that Todoist was a great option. So I hopped in, and as I mentioned before, one of the cool things about Todoist is, I didn't have to read any instructions. I could just kind of hop right in and started to make a to-do list. So for example, let's see, prep demo, schedule it for today. Guess I'm already a little late there. But it was easy to use. The issue with this is that this still wasn't synced across all of my different systems. And so I was still having to scroll back between this, Google Calendar, Gmail, and Slack. And so it was an update or an upgrade over my manual to-do list, but it still wasn't my source of truth that I was hoping for. So at Zapier, one of our cultural pillars is don't be a robot, build a robot. And what that means is that we really do practice what we preach about automation. So I decided, partly to learn our own product, but partly also to automate my to-do list. I wanted to do just that, automate my to-do list. So what I wanted to do was bring all of my saved emails in Gmail, or sorry, all my starred emails in Gmail, all my saved messages in Slack, and all of my Google Calendar events into Todoist. And I wanted to do this automatically because in the beginning, what I was really pretty much doing was I was just doing this manually. I would pull stuff over as I saw fit from those different places. So I'm going to show you how to do this, and then I'm actually going to show you it in action. And to start out with, just going to take you over to a couple of slides. Look like you can still see my screen. So the way that Zapier works is pretty simple. Everything is broken down, or not everything, but every Zap must have a trigger and a action. So the first step when you're creating a Zap, and we call any workflow that you create in Zapier a Zap, so you'll hear me say that term. Just want to make sure that you know what I'm talking about. So in this one, the trigger is going to be every time that I start an email in Gmail. And once I set that up, as soon as the trigger has happened, it passes that email to Zapier. And then it creates a task into Doist. And it really is that simple. Once I've set up the Zap, as any time that I start an email in Gmail, it will push it over into Doist. So sounds pretty simple, but let's see how simple it is in action. So I'm now here in the editor in Zapier. And the first thing that I need to do is click the trigger app. And so in this case, that's Gmail. Then I'm going to figure out what the trigger event is. It is worth noting that we have a bunch for every we have a bunch of triggers and actions for every application that we integrate with, and we just build that off of what users ask us for. So in this case, Gmail has a bunch of different triggers, but the correct one here is going to be new start email. Choose my account, authenticate in, and then there's a testing step. Pretty much what this does, this is showing a email that I recently starred. And this is just showing that it's pulling in the information correctly. So I already tested that yesterday, made sure this looks good. And now I'm going to hop over into the action app, which in this case is going to be Todoist. So I pick Todoist. Create the action event, again, just to show you how kind of flexible and powerful Zapier can be. There's a whole host of different actions here, but in Todoist's case, the most popular one, the one that people use the most, is create task. But just so you know, there are a ton of different things that you can do in Todoist with Zapier as well. Next, you got to pick your Todoist account as well. And then the fun part, you get to set up the action. So what I did here is you're going to actually name what the task is going to look like in Todoist. So whenever I automate stuff into Todoist, I want to make sure I know what source it's coming from. That's the first thing. So I started with from Gmail, then there's the subject of the email, and then the person who actually sent me that email. And in the description, you'll have just the email body. You can customize this if you want. I show what section it's going to be in, and the due date is going to be tomorrow. I figure with email, 24-hour rule is pretty good. The priority, emails are important. They aren't absolutely urgent, so I went ahead and put a number 2. And there you go. It's done. You can test the action. I actually already tested this yesterday, so we are good there. And so let's turn this app on. It's that simple. So as you can see, you can set up these apps really in a minute, and there's no coding required. So I went ahead. Sorry, Chase, did you have something there?
No. I was kind of like laughing a little bit at just how quick it is. When I think about this is one of the questions that's come into is about like the difference between native integrations and Zaps. And when I just think about how complex building native integrations is and how quick and easy that just was, it's kind of mind blowing. So I just couldn't help but laugh a little bit. But yeah, please continue.
Nice. And so in addition to this app, which we actually already just turned on, but I'll turn it on again. I created yesterday, let's see. I created yesterday a Slack Zap, and then also, so let's turn this one on. Oh, it was already on. So in here we have a Google Calendar Zap. We have a saved Slack Zap, and then the email Zap that we just built. And so between all of those, we should be automated here. And so let's go ahead and see if this works. So first of all, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go into my email. I actually have an email from Todoist to welcome me. And since it's been such a great product, I want to go check that out. So I'll star that email in Google Calendar. I'll go over here. Let's see. And let's create a meeting tomorrow at 4 p.m. We're going to call this exciting partner meeting, which is better than the boring partner meeting that I have earlier in the day tomorrow. We'll go ahead and save this. Now, if everything is working, this should actually come over into Zapier automatically. And as you can see down here in the bottom of my to-do list, you have from Gmail, welcome to Doist from Amir. That's awesome. And then you also have the Google Calendar task as well. Oh, and there's another one. I think this was the one that I sent through yesterday while testing. And last but not least, I almost forgot about Slack. Let's go over to Slack. I have an important Slack from my boss. He doesn't usually bold things, so you know it's important when he bolds it. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Hop back over into Todoist, and we'll actually come and see just how instant these instant zaps are. There we go. Comes over just from Slack. And there we go. All of a sudden, I have this to-do list that is updated as my day goes on. And, I have everything prioritized. Can easily see all the things that come from Gmail, Slack, or Google Calendar. And I'm in a lot better place. All of a sudden, a lot more anxiety is off of me, and I'm a lot more productive. So if you think this looks cool, don't take my word for it. The good thing about Todoist and Zapier is it's actually it's one of our free apps. So you can go ahead and just start out, and you get up to 100 tasks for free per month. It's a great starting point. You can see if this helps you out. I would say a great source of inspiration is our Todoist app directory. In here, you'll see a lot of the top zaps that users go out and build. So again, don't take it from me. Try it yourself. But for me, I will say it's made my day a lot less filled with anxiety, and I've been a lot more productive since then. So yeah, that's pretty much my demo. Chase, do you have any questions? Did any questions come in while I was running through this?
Yeah, we've got a lot of questions, and a lot of positive feedback as well, saying this is really cool. And somebody said they had heard of Zapier before, but they weren't really sure what it was exactly. So to see how it works is really cool. One of the questions I was going to ask, and I actually just don't know the answer. I saw the labels that you had there, for Gmail in Todoist, Gmail, Slack, Calendar. Did you add those yourself when you were creating this app, or does that happen kind of automatically? Or
sorry, let me share my screen. I can just so in here the labels.
Yep. There we go.
So what I did actually for this is you first of all create a label in Todoist. So let's create a new one. Let's do Jono's label. Sorry. Oh. Okay. Oh, I didn't spell it. Anyways, not a great typer, as you see, but and then if we go down in here, we can add another label. And so this, it just needs to load the new one, and all of a sudden the new label pops in right there as well.
Okay, great.
Does that answer the question?
Yep. That's it. And then so you'll have I think that's nice to have. I wasn't aware of that feature actually. So that's That's really good. And it connects to some of the questions that came in, like how to keep it categorized, like what comes from where. So that's great. And can it work two ways? Like for instance, if you want to set it up, so like some people with their calendar, for instance, they want to set up so that when you check the task off, the calendar event off from your Todoist, it removes the calendar event from your calendar, or some people like to leave the calendar event on there even after it's been completed. Do you have options to customize that?
Sorry, could you ask the question? I think the answer is yes, but could you ask the question just one more time?
Yeah. So like, let's say I have a calendar event on my calendar, and now because I've added it as an event on my GCal, it's now on my Todoist. And then when I check that task off, is it possible to customize the event so that the event either stays on the calendar or is removed from the calendar?
Yeah. So the nice thing about the Todoist Zap setup is that there's a ton of triggers as well as actions. And so you can make them two ways. There's a lot of kind of flexibility. You'll see this is like one of the most popular ones. So this is the other way. So new incomplete task. This will add a new event to your Google Calendar. So you can absolutely kind of set it up so it's two ways. Awesome. I happen to just show examples of the other way around. So pushing to Todoist, but there's a lot of really powerful use cases the other way around as well.
Perfect. Okay, great. Yeah, it's super useful. Like, it can just really put your productivity on autopilot. If you can just take 5 minutes to set up a few of these, think about where your pain points are and your productivity flow, like what apps are you switching back and forth between, and then go to a place like Zapier, look at your tools. In this case, most of us here watching are interested in Todoist. So you're looking at Todoist and what are the other apps that people are connecting via Zapier, and see how you can power up your productivity.
Definitely.
So one question somebody has asked is about the if there's a possibility to do like a team-based plan. I guess there's you have this is catered towards individuals, but also towards teams. So you guys serve both segments of the market. Can you speak to the team productivity just real quick?
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, I'll just show you kind of like what our plans are. But cool. So here's our pricing page. So as you see, we have a team and company plan, which is catered towards, exactly that, teams and companies. And I mean, essentially what it does is it can make it a little bit more economical for companies to get it instead of buying lots of individual licenses, but also it has collaboration functionality so that, let's say that you and I, Chase, are on the same team, all make Zaps, and I can put them in a shared folder, and you can go ahead in there and copy those or edit them as you please. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, great. So yeah, the team, I see the difference between the team and the company plan. And then the free, a couple people have asked about like, what does free mean? Of course, everybody you can go to the pricing page on Zapier and see this in more detail, but on a very basic level, what is the kind of the breaking point there where you shift from a free to a starter plan? Yeah.
So, the way that we kind of meter our usage is based off of tasks. So that's every time Zapier automates something. So in this case, every time that I save a message, that would be one task. And so on our free plan, you have up to 100 per month. So for a use case like this, that's going to be a really good way. You can get pretty far in a free plan, but it certainly is a great way to understand if it gets you value. There are some apps that are called premium apps that you need to have a paid plan to use. Luckily, Todoist is not one of those. So it's a great chance to kind of give it a shot and see if it gives you value without paying a cent here.
Nice. One question coming through for both of us. You mentioned Slack. A lot of people here that are Todoist users are also Twist users, which is for anybody that doesn't know, is our version of Slack that Doist built. Does I know the answer, but I'll let you answer. Does Zapier provide integrations and zaps for Twist as well?
Yes, we do. Absolutely. Yeah, we have a really great integration, and it's actually, we have a really, really good integration with Twist.
Yep. Yeah, it does. It works really, really nicely. I can attest. Someone asked, is there a way to do two-way sync? Like, for instance, so we mentioned this with the GCal already, but with email. So I star an email, it creates a to-do. This to-do gets checked off. It unstars the email.
Yeah, there is a way to do that. The beauty of Zapier is it is super flexible. So that would probably be two zaps, like one going to Todoist and one going back the other way. But you can figure out a way to get that done.
Nice. Yeah, I was kind of envisioning that was going to be the answer, that maybe you have to set up two different zaps, but with how simple it is to do it, like it's not like that that creates any friction. Someone asked, what email programs integrate with Zapier? Like he has pair.com, for instance, which often doesn't integrate with services like this. Do you know off the top of your head? But I know for sure, while you're looking that up, Zapier, I mean, if you look through their catalog, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, Jonah, but it's like there's so many apps in there. I mean, like you might not be able to find every single one, but you're going to be it's going to challenge you to find more than a couple that you can't integrate with.
Yeah, it looks like Pair might not be. The trick with Zapier is if you Google Zapier and then the tool that you are thinking about, it'll typically come up in like the top few search results. So Pair doesn't look that way, but it doesn't look like it has an integration. But we do have most email providers, so Gmail and lots of others.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say probably for 99% of the people that see this, you'll find your email provider of preference there in their catalog. Sorry we couldn't help with pair.com. I'll be interested to see. I'm not familiar with Pair, so Rachel, I'll be interested to look into that.
And just to, really quickly, just to show what I mean by kind of like our integration directory. So I just quickly pulled up our integration directory, and this is our top email apps. These are just a few. Okay, yeah. And so these are some of them that we have. You mentioned we have a lot of integrations. We actually have over 3,000 integrations now. And so, yeah.
Wow. So that actually kind of segues nicely into a question that we had before this came in, and I kind of wanted to touch on it out of my own personal interest too. Like, so someone asked, like, what's the difference between a Zap and an integration? And then another question was like, how is it possible that Todoist or Doist, the company, has relatively so few integrations while Zapier can create thousands? So just like, I think it's an interesting, there's so many ways you can unpack that, but like the first thing is the difference between a Zap and a native integration is like, for anybody that's wondering, the native integration is something we build. We have an integrations team at Doist. We're building these, and they're super complex to build in a way that's like that to maintain them, to cover all the edge cases. I mean, we have a whole team of people that just works on these, but we only have, you can go to todoist.com/integrations and see all the native apps that are integrations that we built on that page. And there's a catalog of them that's pretty well done. And we work really hard at it, and we're continuing to add to it. But when we can't get to one, or when we haven't had the opportunity to build one yet, we turn to a platform like Zapier, who's got the resources to build tons of these. And then that's where my mind kind of gets blown, is like, I have no idea how you guys do this and are able to build so many of them. So it's really pretty amazing. I don't know if you can add anything to that but it's cool to see what you guys do supplements what we try to do, and then between the two, you should be able to find your integration of choice.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like just at its core, the reason why we have so many integrations is we are, one of the only products out there where integrations is our product. So, well, you all have to, spend the vast majority of time, the vast majority of your engineering product design time building, the best to-do list out there. What we do is we just all of our energy is spent on figuring out ways that we can make our APIs better for people to build off of, and upgrading our integrations. And so it's really our business model. It's the only thing that we focus on.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why you guys are able to do it at such a highly productive rate, just cranking them out. And ones that work. Like I don't hear a lot of complaints connected. You would think, I mean, it gets pretty complex when you're connecting a third party's connecting multiple tools, but I believe it's correct. It's my perception that you guys don't have a big problem in terms of like bugs, errors, service. I mean, it happens from time to time, but like it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, it's totally correct. I think at my last company, actually, I was in support, and how I heard about Zapier at first was, we would suggest Zapier in times where we didn't have a native integration, and I kind of thought of it as a workaround, and I instinctively thought of it as like, oh, it's probably not as good as a native integration. When I was preparing for my interview at Zapier, it's kind of interesting. I looked at all the stats that we had a way of looking at all of the customers who are using Zapier with our product, and the error rate was super, super small for like, millions of API calls. There was a few errors. And so that just kind of showed me like, yeah, this isn't just some workaround. This is, very reliable, very easy to use. And yeah, certainly there are, some errors, and that just comes with the territory of APIs. But that's very, very much the exception to the rule. And we've been able to build, something that's very reliable.
Great. Thanks for adding to that a little bit. A couple more questions real quick before we will wrap this up in the next couple minutes. So someone says, I use Outlook rules and quick steps heavily. How well does that integrate with Zapier? Can you speak to that any?
Let's see. So that was Outlook rules?
I'm not sure if that's like Outlook rules or like rules within Outlook. Jessica, if you can maybe add anything in the comments to elaborate on that might be helpful. But
let's see. I know that we have Microsoft Outlook integration. I don't see that we have one with Outlook rules, but I don't know if that's a separate product or within the same thing. So maybe that's one that I can do a little research and kind of get back to you.
Yeah. And then a second similar question: do you need a Google Business email to have Zapier create the connection?
That's a good question and a very specific question. And for this specific Zap that I showed you, the starred email, the answer is actually yes. And it has to do with I think it's just the way that Gmail builds APIs. We weren't able to build one for private emails. However, I think that is specific to the starred email. I think there are still a lot of other useful Zaps that you can do with private Gmail accounts. But sounds like whatever user that had tried to build that and ran into something. And so that's a great question.
Yeah. Good point too. So what does someone do if like I have my personal email address? There are still Zaps that you can create, but in that particular one, when it involves your Gmail, there are certain restrictions in this case.
Yeah, I I mean, I need to do a little bit more research to tell you, but I know that there's a ton of other Zaps that we have, like adding a label instead of adding a star. That might work with private Gmails. I just know specifically with the starring one, it only works with Gmail Business. And again, that's actually not on the Zapier side. That's on the Gmail side, just the APIs that they open up.
Yeah, when you start diving into the world of APIs and playing around in other tools, you find all sorts of little restrictions. Hence, why building native integrations is so challenging. There's always these little idiosyncrasies that you're trying to dig through and figure out how to make work on your side. I thought this is a really interesting question from Brian, and we might wrap it up on this one. But I'm just going to read the whole thing for anybody that can't see it. So, because it touches on what a lot of us are living through right now. So with less frequent face-to-face meetings, especially for voluntary community committees, there is higher increase of WhatsApp groups now created. Many documents with agendas and minutes of meetings are shared on it. So do you have any Zap to move these documents from WhatsApp if you have items starred, or maybe Telegram? They're looking for methods to take important documents from something like WhatsApp and move them to another tool. So maybe I have no idea if you guys have Zaps for WhatsApp. I know for me personally, I've actually asked our integrations team if it would be possible to make a Todoist. This really hits home for me because it would be great to make a Todoist WhatsApp integration so that I could do exactly this: turn a document into a task, or turn a comment in WhatsApp into a task, especially because you can't mark comments and messages in WhatsApp as unread. So it gets, or at least I can't, it seems. So anyway, that would be a very useful thing to have. I have no idea if you have that at Zapier.
Yeah, we actually don't right now have an integration with WhatsApp yet. And again, usually the reason for that, it's two things. When we don't have an integration, it's users haven't asked for it, which I would guess is not the case here, because I would guess Brian, lots of other people would want that integration as well. Or it's the company hasn't come to us to build an integration. And so I would guess that's the case here. But I will say, while we don't have an integration with WhatsApp, that use case that you're explaining, that is of taking information from within communication platforms like Slack or an email platform or something like that, and then bringing it into like agendas or some other place. That's like a very core use case of Zapier. It's something that at Zapier we use daily. I can't tell you the last recurring meeting that I've been to at Zapier that doesn't have an automated agenda just like this. And so, yeah, I guess kind of a yes and no. The no is we don't have a WhatsApp integration yet, at least. The yes is that use case that you described is kind of exactly what Zapier is made for. Yeah,
it's like the core of what you guys do, and WhatsApp is obviously a tough one to crack there. But yeah, that's exactly what you guys do. And like, for instance, with the Twist integration, for the people asking, we mentioned that earlier. There is a Twist integration, or Twist Zap as well, but you can turn like a comment into a task very easily. You can also, we have native integrations for Twist as well, but there's lots of more granularity you can get with Zapier that we're unable to support. So yeah, you can. And I think that's the other thing. Like, it's not just the like, hey, is there a Zap for Slack and Todoist? But like, it's not just the number of integrations, but it's the granularity that you can get down into with the way you set up the Zaps. There's a lot of options.
Definitely.
What last little question, or can we go back to your screen and see the like the catalog again, and just maybe mention some of the other, like, for anybody, aside from we've talked a lot about Todoist, obviously that's the crowd here today, but just looking at some of the other popular Zaps and what people are using often, just to give people some like food for thought on what else they could do to their for their productivity.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say if it is a commonly used app, there's a lot of users using it with Zapier out there. It's a pretty general statement, but I think I'm probably pretty backed up with that. And so, Google Sheets, Gmail, Google Calendar, all of those are some of our top used integrations. But I would say one of the kind of tricks with Zapier is if you have a app that you use and you want to understand, one, if Zapier has an integration, and two, what are some of the different ways that that other people are using that, what you can just do is you can just Google it. So use Twist as an example. Zapier Twist right away, typically the first or second or both is going to be the answer to your question. I can quickly check in here. There is an integration. If I want, I can see, and then, I can go down here and just kind of see a lot of the different ways that users are using that. So that's just kind of, and there's a ton in here. But these are ranked by popularity too. So if you start at the top and go down, you can kind of see some of the most popular ways that other people are using it.
There's a ton. I mean, we're on the G Suite at Doist, and so we use a lot of, we use Google Docs and Google Sheets, and and there's tons of things you can set up within that, so that when things happen in a sheet, it happens in your Twist or in your Todoist, or and GitHub or whatever. So you can get really creative with this, and I would encourage people watching, think about how you can use these apps with your Todoist, but also consider it with some of the other tools that you use. Maybe make a list of all the tools that you use the most, and figure out how you can get them to talk to each other a little bit more, and cut yourself out of the process of managing every little click, and let Zapier do it for you. So I think we'll go ahead and finish up there. We were going to try to keep it to 45 minutes. We went just over that, so I think we did a good job. Any last minute comments you want to make, or anything else you want to add that we didn't get to before we sign off?
No, this was great. I love seeing all the comments. I love seeing all the international comments. Shout out to the people calling in from India and Dallas and Ontario. This was awesome. Super fun to walk through. And this was a fun one for me. Again, this is one that I use personally, so I didn't really have to make too much stuff up. I showed you some pretty simple use cases, but I think the takeaway with Zapier is there's a lot of really powerful things you can do simple, but if you want something a little more sophisticated too, Zapier is flexible enough that generally, you'll be able to get it done.
Definitely. Yeah. I think that sums it up. We use the phrase, simple but powerful at Doist a lot for our products. And I think that applies here too. Like, super simple. You can set it up in 5 minutes. You can use a powerful free plan, and then just do so much to power up your productivity. So, this was fun for me too. I learned a lot. Like, I'm obviously very familiar with you guys, but I even still was able to take away several things that I didn't know before. So thank you for joining us and starting your day with us. And for everybody that joined from all around the world, we appreciate it. This recording will live on our YouTube channel, so you can go to the Todoist YouTube channel and find this from here on out. And so if you want to go back and review any of the things that we covered, I'll also send out an email to everybody that registered on Crowdcast tomorrow with a link to that video and a little bit more information about the next Todoist office hours, which is coming up in about 2 weeks. So more info to come on that soon. Thanks again, man. This was really great and good to see you again. And we appreciate everything you guys do to support us.
Thanks, Chase. And thanks everyone for tuning in.
Bye guys. Thanks everyone.